Transmitting to you from Old Heart Radio.
Prepare to have your bones chilled and your hairs raised. It's the WacArnold's Brothers podcast.
Welcome home.
It is indeed being recorded. I would hope so, at least. Hello, friends. Another podcast from Old Heart Radio. This is the WacArnold's Brothers podcast. Hello, David.
What's up?
Oh, my
Number
gosh.
5, right?
Number 5, my friend.
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah. And, you know, I would say it's worth putting this one on the chopping block.
Wow.
Had to go for it. First, I want to get out of the way. Terrible apologies on my part for the cutting off of the last episode. Those Zoom lords got me. I did not pay I did not give them my offering fast enough, apparently. But this week, we shouldn't have any option. Old Heart Radio is finally upgraded. We're going to have longer podcasts, whatever we want. So,
there you go. Whether you like it or not.
whether you like it or not.
But yeah, that was I was listening to it. Yeah, and we probably had 8 more minutes left on it. But yeah, it was a bummer that it got cut off. So
yeah, exactly. So either way, I just finally that was the straw that broke this camel's back. So
okay.
I was just like, I'm done with that. But yeah, I mean, last week we mentioned it, or we might have gotten cut off. Or I can't remember. Anyway, either way, episode 5 here, me and David have Chopping Mall, which is
Chopping Mall. Yeah.
Is it the Chopping Mall or is it just Chopping Mall?
Just Chopping Mall.
Yeah.
You know?
There was a shocking, I will say this just up front, there's a shocking lack of chopping in this movie. Lots of killing, though.
This was one of those movies where I just recently saw it for the first time, probably 2 years ago. But I remember, growing up and always seeing the promotional poster or the VHS cover when I was a kid. And I always thought it would be something totally different. I thought it was going to be a movie about a serial killer in a mall, going on a killing spree.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm with you there. But it takes a bit of a sci-fi twist,
right?
Which I thought, which is very appealing to me. Yeah, I love horror. I love sci-fi. So it's you mash them up, it can be very well done. Alien is a great example, but Chopping Mall is so okay. What's the basic premise is that this mall has installed a new security system featuring 3 robots that have a variety of different lethal capabilities.
Yeah, I know. Oh man, they're at the press conference. I love it they're doing the press conference at the beginning, and the guy's talking about how it has sleep darts and it has lasers to sweep away debris, and one of these guys is asking about all the, like you said, all the deadly capabilities, and the guy is like, this system is absolutely foolproof. Absolutely nothing can go wrong. How wrong he was.
How wrong. Because shortly thereafter there's some sort of lightning storm or whatever that for some reason just immediately fucks with the robot security system.
It blows up this box on top of the mall and everything goes haywire,
which is just so great, because then there's that whole sequence where it's it had the robot has its first the victim basically from that right after that lightning storm or whatever. It's that science, the I don't even know if he's a scientist. We'll call him.
He's just a security guard.
He's just a security guard.
Yeah.
And he gets gooned, man. He gets.
Of course, he's looking at a porno magazine fold out.
Ooh, yeah. And he gets what? Just it was he got like an arm to the back of the to the back of his neck or whatever, basically, or his throat or whatever.
Yeah, to his throat. Because it's the second guy that gets like the. It looks kind of like a mini grappling hook that flies out of him. Yeah. But really quick before we like jump into more of the movie, so a couple little fun facts about this movie. So later in the movie, there's a like a janitor. It's played by Dick Miller, who he's most like famous for having all these different roles in Joe Dante movies. He's in Piranha. He's in the Gremlin movies. He's in Small Soldiers, and he's great.
Yeah, dude. I immediately I recognized him when he popped up, mainly because I have his role from Gremlins like in my head, you know. What I mean? And so when I saw it, I was like, oh, and yeah, that's who's the director of this movie? It's
his name's Jim Wynorski. He never really did anything like super big. He did this sequel, He did the Return of Swamp Thing.
Okay.
Yeah, he did House 4. So yeah, pretty random.
They gave him House 4. Like, sure, you can handle it now. After your career.
Wow. There's a couple different scenes in this movie where you'll see in the background there's like posters of like previous movies he had directed, which I've never seen any of them. But one more quick fun fact. We've talked a lot about Reanimator and other shit like that. Well, one of the stars in this movie, her name's Barbara Crampton. She plays Susie. She's in Reanimator and Castle Freak and a bunch of really good. I love Barbara Crampton. She's great.
That's where I recognize her from. Like, I kept this entire movie. I didn't look it up until right now. I have like the IMDb pulled up, but yeah, like I was watching that and there was another, like, I was like, I've recognized her from other things. I just couldn't put a finger on it. That's awesome. I didn't know that. Fun fact. Was that what do you remember what year Reanimator was off the top of your head? I'm blanking on it.
But. It was shortly out. It was like, I think it was like a year after this. I could be wrong.
That's what I was
pretty sure. It was late
like, what
80s.
came first, Reanimator or Chopping Mall? Reanimator, dude. So he actually busted out with Reanimator and then went to Chopping Mall.
Well, it's a different director, but yeah.
Yeah. Oh, fair enough. That's interesting.
But anyway, so yeah, let's jump back into it. So
I meant to say she, I suppose.
She. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah.
Anyway, so but this movie basically has like a really small cast, like for because it's a fairly self-contained movie. It's aside from maybe like that opening scene with the where they're like unveiling the robots. Most of it takes place in the movie from there, or from the movie. It's all in the movie. It takes place in the mall.
Because eventually they get like it's like established during the press conference that not only are there these 3 robots, but there's these giant metal doors that lock from fucking midnight till 6 a.m. So
yeah, dude, they look like blast doors on a starship. They're just like
they do. Yeah. They're like
that's all. Yeah, that's all you need. You don't even need the robots at that point. Those blast doors, nobody's getting through those fucking things anyway. The robots were just too far. The design of the robots is really interesting, though. They have that sort of like the kind of classic like red light visor that you'd see on like robot toys and stuff like that early on. It reminded me a little bit of Alpha from the original Power Rangers series, like how he has that like kind of visor thing. That kind of it kind of gave me a little reminder of that, but it also had the mobility of these robot security guards, like the wheels that they were using, or traction that they were using, or whatever, reminded me of Short Circuit.
Okay. So hard. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Like it was like that, and that was like I kept like thinking about that throughout this entire movie. It was like these were basically like lethal. What's his name? anyway, they're
It's
like
been so long. Yeah, they're like
dude.
lethal, not funny versions of.
Yeah, Short Circuit. But yeah, it was just like a really interesting design for him. I was wondering.
And then they
if
have
had,
like, the sleep darts, and then they have like an electrical, essentially like a taser that comes into play in a little bit. But they're cool looking.
Oh, Short Circuit and Chopping Mall came out in the same year.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah, I wonder if the design was sort of like reused or anything like that, because it's so similar. Like the entire bottom half of those robots. Maybe I'm obsessing too much about Short Circuit here. All right.
My cousin loved that movie growing up. Like, he was always talking about Short Circuit to the point where I was like, okay, I get it. Like,
yeah, shut up now, okay? Oh my God, yeah. So anyway, you got like the main cast of this movie is pretty much like what you expect from a 80s movie centered around a mall. It's like horny teenagers who have like a couple of them have part-time jobs at the mall,
right?
You know.
Yeah. So essentially, there's 8 of them. There's 3 couples, and then there's Allison and Ferdy, who are like set up on this blind date.
Yeah.
But the other 3 are just like fucking for like.
Dude, it's. It was like right out of the gate. That was one of my the funniest scenes to me, just because it was like, I mean, classic like weird party scene in a movie, right? Like I've seen this before, where it's like for some reason everybody else in the room is fucking like right next to each other, and like then there's like the 2 awkward kids sitting on the couch like watching a movie pretending it's not happening or something. Like
they're watching like a 1950s like sci-fi horror movie, and one of the couples, the girl's like, you're the king,
it was so ridiculous. Yeah, they're in Ferdy or whatever his Ferdy's like I don't know, uncle or some family relation of that he worked, like maybe it's just his dad or something like that, owns this like furniture store that they're like all partying at after hours in the
3
mall.
of them work there.
Yeah, and 3 of them work there. They're all kind of goony dudes, like except for Ferdy. Ferdy's kind of a reserved nerd, I'd say.
Yeah.
And they're like, there's like, dialogue like they're talking about like, you gonna get the beer? Oh man, the fridge is full. Stuff like that. Like really.
There's a lot of like 80s stuff, like when earlier it shows Allison and Susie, and they work at this pizza place, and then Allison's like on the phone with her dad getting permission, and she gets the permission, and Susie's like, oh, all right, that's bitchin'. It's like so 80s.
Also, side note, the guy that they work for that runs that pizza parlor, like he was only in the movie for but a moment, but it was like it was such a nasty role. Like he's like his shirt's all grungy and dingy. Like you see the dude like smoking a cigarette while making people's food, and he's like wiping his spatula on his shirt and stuff.
The food looked so gross too. It was like what the
fuck, man. Ugh.
And then I like how one of the couples that winds up at the mall, they don't work at the mall, but they're like on their way, and it shows this scene where their car's broken down and they get it started, and the guy doesn't want to go to the party.
Yeah.
And his girlfriend just like persuades him with lingerie, and he's like, okay, let's go. Like,
like literally that was like the way like he was like, she like mentions her lingerie, and then there's like a shot of the car like speeding out of the parking lot. Horny 80s teens, man. Young adults. Those 2 are like mechanics or whatever, which I thought was going to come into play a little heavier later in the movie, but that like was just like a thing that was mentioned and never followed up on.
Yeah, exactly.
But that was the thing, like after you get introduced to all these characters, I don't know. I did not feel that strongly about most of them. I was just sort of like, this is like none of, like, I don't know. I did not picture this group surviving very well. And, as that played out in the movie, I was fairly right. But they do some classic things. So like well, okay, what's the first killing? The first killing is
so the
what's his
first
name?
two kills are the security guard. Are you talking about the teens or like in general?
Well, let's talk in general.
In general, the first two kills are like the first security guard gets killed, and then somehow his body gets moved.
Yeah, that was the thing. It was the body just was gone when the other guy got there.
So the other guy stumbles in, he eats a donut, gets killed, and then they break loose on the floor, and then they kill the janitor, Dick Miller's character.
Yeah, who's cleaning up some sort of nasty looking.
It looks like chocolate milk or something.
Yeah, it was like a milkshake somebody dropped from like a different level or something. It was gross. Anyway, they kill him by shooting one of those electric taser things into the liquid pile that he's standing in.
I love how it establishes. It doesn't do it for the first two kills, but it does it with him. It establishes this funny like running joke where the kill bot will kill somebody and then it'll go, "Thank you, have a nice day."
At least it remembers to be polite. Dude, that was the funny thing. It was just like, the robots were so like they didn't seem very like threatening to be frank. And then they're just like out of nowhere they'd like open a little hatch and like a dart would shoot out and like get somebody. So you're just like, they were very disarming at first, but everybody in the movie was freaking out about them. Like, I mean, maybe this is because it's 80s and it's like robots. Everybody's like, oh my god, here in 2021, robots are not like
a little
crazy.
More of
they've been developing things, so I guess for my mind it was less intimidating.
It's a good point.
But
the first like death scene with the teen happens where like, so all these couples are screwing, and one of them is Leslie and Mike, who Mike is just like the biggest douchebag, the way he chews his gum the whole time.
Oh my god, I had to bring that up. I wrote that in caps. I was like, the gum, dude, the fucking gum.
Oh, it drives me crazy. It's like
I wanted him to get off because of that shit. I was like, but yeah.
So they get done. Sorry. So what were we gonna say?
Oh no. You're going down the right road. I was just saying, like they get. That he's the king of that we were shouting about earlier, apparently. And so there's this like fantastic scene where like she's digging through her purse and she's like looking for a smoke and she just won't have anything like to do with him besides like wanting a smoke. It was
trying to find a cigarette. Yeah,
she's like, and I only smoke Virginia Light or Virgin Lights or something like that. Some like made up smoke. And so anyway, so she makes this gum chewing wad just go to the closest vending machine to buy a pack.
Yeah. He's like exactly like you said. He's like, there's camels under the cabinet. And she's like, I don't need smoke.
Yeah. She's too good for camels, man.
Right.
So he and this is the thing, like I kept trying to figure out the timeline for this movie, like when were they hanging out in the furniture store in terms of like in like relation to like when the mall closed, because they kept kind of talking about how it was like really shortly after close or like like things were closing up, and I was like, they're kind of like already partying.
Right.
Like this dude's like walking down the mall, without a shirt on, like chewing his gum, like barefoot. Like that's like, it was just like I was trying to figure out. I was like, is everybody else like officially gone, or are they just like, is it just something that happens after hours at malls that everybody's accepted?
Yeah, it's a good point because like at this point the doors haven't closed yet. Like that happens after. It's like after the first two deaths, but so yeah, it's probably like maybe like 11:30.
Yeah. They're just going hard in the furniture store. And so he's like he's walking down the vending machine's not like terribly far away.
No.
But as he's like checking himself out in the vending machine, like I don't know, window or whatever, that's when he gets like that's when the robot starts sneaking up on him, I believe. Which method was it that he got killed with? Do you remember his like? Was it a?
I do. So
was it a dart? Was it electric?
Well, at first, so the robot rolls up and during the press conference earlier, one of the people is like, well, how's it going to know if it's a worker?
Oh, yeah,
And
that's right.
The guy like shows like putting up his identification badge. So anyway, Mike does that, and the robot has nothing to do with it. Like, doesn't even like comply with him.
Yeah.
Shoots him with the sleep dart. He
That's
falls
right.
to the ground, and then he like slits his throat with his hand.
Oh, goodbye, Mike. And
I'm glad he was the first death because he was so annoying.
he really was. To his credit, he did a great job with that character. If that was the way the character was supposed to be. All right, and then yeah. So basically, his partner, his girlfriend or whatever,
Leslie,
after a while follows up, trying to be like, probably mostly where the fuck is the smoke? She probably doesn't care where he's chewing his gum, and so she goes out, and I thought it was really funny because it took her a while to discover the body.
Yeah, she's like, "What are you doing, Mike?"
Yeah, and then eventually she finds that Mike's body has been propped up, like sitting next to the vending machine, which was like another instance. Like those robots, man, they seem to be easily moving people.
Yeah, really.
Like for as like weird as their movements are, like they can pick a body up and position it.
I guess so.
So she discovers that, and then shortly thereafter, it's this. I mean, not that these robots necessarily are characters, but it's the same robot that kills her, I believe.
Yeah,
because there's three. There's 1, 2, and 3, and they all like have, they all last a certain amount of time. But
exactly.
yeah, but I think Leslie gets off by the same robot.
Mm-hmm. And it's probably probably the best death scene.
Dude, I watched it yesterday, and then I had to rewatch it again. But explain it if you don't mind.
So she finds his dead body, and then she's like, sees the robot and starts running, and the robot's shooting all these lasers at her, and she manages to get.
And that was the first time you saw the lasers.
Exactly.
Which was wild. So.
And she manages to get super close to the store, but for some reason she turns around to look at the robot, and the laser shot just blows her head off. Like it's so great.
Yeah, it was. I wasn't expecting a body part explosion coming from that, but yeah, that was righteous. And that was like I said, that was the first time you saw the lasers, and at this point, I kind of forgotten that they were even supposed to have lasers, and so to just see this I don't know, it's a dated piece of visual FX, but it still looked really cool.
Yeah,
if you ask
for
me,
sure.
Kyle. So that was pretty cool. But so those two die, and then how long does it take the other crew to start really noticing that shit, they're not around, something's going on? Well,
because they see Leslie get killed.
Oh, that's right, because you're right, it's God, that's right.
And then so they start panicking, and at this point a second robot comes up with the first one and starts trying to break into the store. They sneak into the back, and the girls go into the vent system, because at this point the metal door is locked, so they know that they're stuck.
Yeah.
So the girls go into the vent system, and the guys run the other way, and they head for
the sporting goods store. Yeah, because of course, that's another staple of any sort of mall apocalypse type movie of any sort, right? It's like all right, we gotta get to the sporting goods store and load up, and
there's just guns there in the middle of the mall.
Loading an assault rifle up, and
that would not fly in today's standards. Just go to the mall, pick up an assault rifle.
And that's the thing, these are all just at this point they're all buzzed, young adults who are like just like fresh off of like getting, they're fucking each other, and they're just like their minds are probably running wild. And so like throwing like some guns in the mix with this crowd, oh god, not a good idea. But what are you gonna do though? Obviously the answer to robots is guns.
And I like how every store, like pretty much every store they go into, since they're locked, they have to like really dramatically break the glass to enter.
Yeah, there was that was another note I had made. There were some great glass breaking scenes, particularly near the end but like they're just like I don't know. There's like some weird like angles that they like, you see people like hit the glasses at and stuff like that. Like later in the movie, you see one lady like put a sweater over her head and like bum rush a window. Just fucking wild.
Oh, Jesus.
They don't know how to break into places.
They get the guns, and then Ferdy has this really funny line where I think it's Greg, he's like, do you know how to use that? And Ferdy goes, he goes, yeah, I've seen Dirty Harry 24 times. Like, okay.
Yeah, like 100% counts as training.
Yeah.
Dirty Harry, man. Yeah, and so basically now they're trying to figure out, one, how to like get out of the mall, and two, like they're trying to obviously not to get caught by these killer robots. So like you said earlier, the girls get into the vent system, but that doesn't seem to go too well.
No,
they didn't seem like that was like a really thought through idea in terms, you know what I mean?
Yeah, not at all.
They didn't stay in there too long, I don't think.
No.
So
and then they wind up in a hardware store.
Yeah.
And they start making they take gasoline. They basically make like a Molotov cocktail with gas tanks and some rags, and they grab some flare candles, essentially.
Yeah. Anything explosive would probably help. Yeah, and the flare comes into play later for sure.
Yeah.
That was okay. So what's like the sequence in terms of who gets picked off next? It's like, it's not
before anyone dies next. The guys encounter one of the robots and they start shooting it. They throw a propane tank at it, and it like blows. It like incapacitates the robot, knocks it on his side, and they think that it's dead, but it's not.
Yeah,
which comes into play later. But the next death is the girls are trying to escape from the robots, and
that's right.
They light a fire, trying to like maybe trap or kill one of the robots, but the plan kind of backfires because Susie ends up dying. She's sitting next to one of the gas cans, and the robot shoots its laser and essentially blows her up. And we've talked about this before, but stunt work that was great once again.
Oh yeah. Well, exactly, and that's so far with every movie we've done for this. Like, there's been some sort of great stunt work, and that's the unsung heroes of these movies for sure. Are like the people that are like pulling off these. Especially like, to me, especially like stunts relating, like involving fire.
Yeah. Like,
I just, I can't imagine, even if I have like a suit with padding and shit, like putting that on and being like, all right, light me up.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So a tip of the hat to that, man. Like that shit's wild. But yeah, that, the thing I keep like, now talking about this movie, I keep thinking like, with robots being such like especially for the characters in this movie, being such like a freshly introduced thing, they actually, I'll give them some credit. They do kind of come up with some like, sort of savvy ways of like trying to like see if they can like blow up a robot, or like basically just how they can fight them or incapacitate them.
Which happens next? Yeah.
And how does that happen? I'm asking questions, man.
The guys devised this plan where they open up one of the elevators. They get on top and they put a propane tank or two up there, and they start filling the elevator up with gas. And they're like, their plan is to lure one of the robots in there, which ends up happening. They lure one of the robots in there, and Allison is actually the one that fires the shot that hits the propane tank, and it obliterates and incinerates and destroys this robot and the elevator at the same time. It's
and
great.
the elevator. But yeah, that was, and that's what I mean. Like that was, like, you know, honestly, a really creative way of trying to like deal with that in the moment. You know, like,
it was cool.
Yeah. And that's also where Allison gets her nickname, Deadeye, later.
She's like, my dad was in the Marines or something like that.
Yeah, I love that throwaway line. Like that immediately justifies why she's great at marksmanship. Great marksmanship's in the blood.
Right. And then the next death happens so there's 5 of them left at this point. They regroup in the Italian restaurant from earlier.
Mhm.
And Ferdy's like, comes up with actually like the smartest plan yet, perhaps. He's like, well, if we make it, you know, to the control room, we can shut him down and we can end this whole thing. And they're like, let's do it. So they all leave to go run to do that. But one of them gets a little bit too gung-ho. I believe it's Greg, and he runs up I forget that term for that thing in the mall. Not an elevator.
Oh, the escalator?
Escalator, thank you.
Yeah.
It's been so long. He runs up the escalator and just immediately gets thrown off of it.
Yeah.
Down 2 flights, yep.
Yeah. Gung ho Greg, man. Yeah, I have a hard time, like I said, this movie was just like to me, more than anything, this movie was just like a chuckle fest. And like doing like that kind of sequence was just so funny to me, because it's like, you know, I don't know, like the confidence, like, yeah, let's do it.
And it's just funny because he
just
runs
immediately burst that bubble.
He runs up first and doesn't even look around. He just immediately turns around and is like, all right, guys, the coast is clear. And then, boom, see ya. Yeah.
Bye-bye. Oh, my God. Yeah, but so, they don't actually ever make it up to the control room, do they?
No. Long story short, no.
Right? Like that's... That, you know, like, I mean, other things happen, and like the way they deal with the robots, you know, pans out differently. But I just thought it was really funny that like they had this snappy plan, which was like, it seemed like that was like the course of the movie, right? Like, why introduce like where it is on top of the mall, like, you know, the whole center itself, if you're not gonna go back there?
True.
So that was kind of like, I mean, to the credit of this movie, it definitely twisted like what you'd expect to happen.
It subverted expectations.
Yeah, subverted. Excuse me.
No, you're good.
Yeah. So I thought that was actually kind of cool. It was just sort of funny, like how they also just like it just after Greg, it just didn't seem to really go very far.
Yeah, because after Greg's death, now it's down to Rick and Linda, who are the married couple, and then Ferdy and Allison, who are this fresh couple. So that's a cool little clash of, you know.
Yeah. Well,
but she doesn't really play into anything necessarily. But what were you gonna say?
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, I didn't, you know, like I at this point in the movie, I very distinctly remember like thinking, you know, one of these couples is gonna make it out. Like that's got to be the thing. It's either one of the couples or just a single character. But like I was just like, you know, you're not necessarily, you have kind of like the same amount of attachment to both those couples at this point.
True.
Right? Like, you know, like the mechanics, they were like introduced, they have like some sort of character development, and then you know, you're like, okay, they're kind of likable. And then you have, you know, Ferdy and God, why am I keep blanking on her name? Allison, goddamn. And you know, like, yeah, they're obviously like probably the ones that have the most backstory at this point.
Right. Or the most likable, I guess you could say.
Yeah. And so it was just, I just thought, again, like, to my surprise, I was kind of like compelled to like by the plot and like the way this movie was going at this point, because being like, oh, okay, well, like, who is going to make it out? Like,
true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but we find out that the mechanics don't, they don't fare too well.
Yeah,
in the end.
that's the next great sequence. Yeah,
that sequence was awesome, by the way.
it was.
Because
Care to talk about it?
yeah, she gets it was just surprising because like what happened, like they incapacitate the robot to an extent that's chasing them, and
Yeah,
it's oh, go for it.
Sorry, go. You're going for it.
Oh, I was just gonna say they incapacitate. How exactly do they incapacitate? I know it's like electric. It's like in stun mode, basically. It's like electrocuted, and it's like
because they set up
around.
They set up this decoy in the one of the stores
right.
with these mannequins, and so it can't figure out who's real, and its laser shot ends up like rebounding and going back into the robot's eye
for no reason whatsoever. That like they come up with that plan, and like they're like, yes, okay, the laser will just reflect off of the mirror. I remember like so they're all lined up with these mannequins, and like they basically start like the two guys with the guns are like at one end, and they're like shooting from behind some mannequins to like to sort of like get its attention, and then the girls run in one direction, and that's when they unleash the mirrors, and for no reason whatsoever the laser, like the robot shoots the laser, it bounces off the mirror, and then just like puts it in like it's like like
shock mode.
Shock mode. It's like electrified. And so it's just going haywire, right? It's like blasting off lasers everywhere. And they're all trying to like stay out of the way, but then Linda gets zapped, right? Like she gets right in the gut too. I was like, and I honestly, again, like at this point, I thought those two were potentially the ones that were gonna make it out. And so,
for sure.
And so like she just gets zapped and she's done, dude. Like I did not think that she was gonna die, but her boyfriend's reaction was so fucking funny though. Like it was priceless. Like it was like, he immediately like starts rage shooting at the robot. Like, oh, you killed her, But then he's like standing maybe like 10, 15 feet away from the robot at the most at this point. And instead of just bum rushing the robot, he hops on that little like, I don't know, garbage collecting cart and like very slowly rams the robot with it because there's 10 feet. There's no way it's picking up speed, and somehow it just like immediately just like kabooms the robot. Like it blows the robot up. So
killing him in the process, right?
Killing him in the process, which I love that. Like if you look at that sequence, there is actually like a quick shot where they have replaced like the actor with like a mannequin double.
Oh, I didn't notice that. Damn it.
It like kind of pans over, and I was like, "That's definitely not a human being."
I usually notice stuff like that, but I didn't notice that. Damn.
I love. I mean, I try to like look out for those kind of things, but I don't. I don't always catch them. But it's such a treat when you do some. It's like that's how it was made. So
I noticed something like that. I noticed something like that a little bit later, which we'll talk about shortly. But
so now it's just Ferdy, who
Allison.
Yeah, it's Ferdy and Allison, and they
and one robot.
And one Ferdy and Allison and one robot. And Ferdy is like he again sort of like falls victim to a robot in a really funny way. I didn't think he was going to be down and out.
Yeah.
And so like it was really surprising that the sequence happened. So like the robot's chasing him, they're trying to escape it, and at one point Ferdy picks up like a canister of something. He's like, Allison, get out of here, he's like throwing these, like shooting. Okay, so he shoots at the robot, and I guess to be fair, he gets one good shot in this sequence, because I believe he shoots. I think this is the sequence where he shoots the robot right in the face, like point blank range, and so there's this line like laser malfunction or something. And so at least he did something good there. But
true.
But then he's like, so he runs out of bullets as he's like just like shooting at it, and he throws the gun at it, and just like the shot of the gun just bouncing off of the robot was so funny to me. Like, and then he picks up like a fire extinguisher or something.
That's what I thought it was. Yeah.
And like, chucks it as hard as Ferdy can at the robot. This is probably my favorite, like one of my favorite moments in the whole movie. The robot just immediately picking up the fire extinguisher back and just hurling it at Ferdy, knocking him up. Like
he's like, oh, but it like knocks him out. Like there's blood coming out of his head. Like you think he's dead.
Yeah, exactly. Like you just think like, holy shit, like that. Well, that's it for Ferdy.
Yeah, I know, for real.
And so Allison, you know, like basically is the last person left, and you're trying to figure, like, she's trying to figure out how to get the fuck out. She's trying to get away from the robot. But then I feel like she just kind of, I don't know, maybe just running too much. You know, she hit a point. Her character hit a point where she was just like, fuck it, I'm gonna try and like deal with this robot myself.
But so you know how you just pointed out how you noticed like a dummy. I didn't. Yeah. So there's this part. The next part, she goes into like a pet store.
Yep.
And she hides out, and the robot comes in and is breaking. He knocks over, like a thing of snakes, and knocks over a thing of spiders, and the spiders crawl on her, right? But she doesn't scream, and the robot leaves. So at first, the spiders, you can tell the spiders are real as they're crawling on her, but then when it cuts away and comes back, it's like. And she pulls the spiders off of her, and you can very clearly tell they're plastic and they're not real.
I mean, like, dude, I don't know. If I were an actor or anything like that, like, I would have a really hard time with like letting somebody put like a bunch of tarantulas on me or something.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like,
fuck yeah. Like, there's no way. And the snake, like,
dude, I
luckily the snake didn't get next to her, but just seeing it slithering around on the floor like that, thank you.
It's enough to raise some hairs. That's for damn sure. I thought that was kind of a like funny sequence, because it's like there's always like moments like that, you know, where it's like the main character or one of the main characters is hiding, and then there's like, you know, they may not be found by the robot or the serial killer or whatever, but there's like that thing that tries to like test them and like break their silence, you know, break their like that moment. And I don't know, those kind of scenes in movies always kind of get me in a way where it's like it can be so tense, you know.
It's happened in other movies. There's one where they're like under a bed and it's a mouse that starts biting somebody. Yeah, it's happened in a lot of movies, and it's true. Yeah,
exactly. It's a fairly like it's a fairly common thing. But like, I don't know, for some reason it's just like one of those kind of like things that they put in horror movies for sure. Like that I don't know. I just really, it always gets me. But yeah, so she dips out of the pet store, and then what store does she head to next? Is it the paint?
Well,
it's not. No.
Yes, it is. But before she heads to the paint store, she like another chase ensues, and she's trying to evade it, and she ends up like climbing over the railing and hanging over it.
Yes.
But slips and falls, and somehow there just happens to be a tent with like plush animals underneath it set up, you know.
Just happens to be the middle of the mall, stuffed animal sales tent. But that scene was kind of cool though, in a way where she was, you know, like hanging on there, but she kept like pulling herself up to see if if the robot was checking her out, and it like slowly came closer to her and stuff.
Yeah, it's creepy.
Yeah. But when she slips, there's like she's like crawling out like some luggage and like, you know, stuffed animals and stuff. But she's getting kind of banged up along the way though. Like right after this sequence, you see like some fresh fake blood like on like, you know, on her neck, and like she has like, you know, already a bandage on her arm at this point. Like that fall looks like it's maybe like fucked up one of her ankles potentially, because she's like crawling and limping and stuff. Yeah. Hobbling. But that leads her.
I give her the biggest kudos because she comes up with the most creative way to dispatch the last robot.
Yeah. She and this is where that like the the scene that I was talking about earlier, where Allison like puts her sweatshirt over her head, and then for some reason just decides to like just the bum rush the giant window. But she bonks it in such a gentle way. Like that's the thing. Like always.
There's no way it would have broke. Yeah.
No way. It would have just knocked her right over. But then she immediately like it cuts like there's like the whole epic scene of her going through the window, and then it cuts to like a shot of her like kind of just putting her sweatshirt back down and like getting to the store. And but yeah, she basically just starts cracking open a bunch of cans of paint and primer and just starts sloshing it into a big pile. And like she has the one like last flare
from earlier,
which I thought was such a good like I'm surprised that something made it all the way to the end, and yeah, it actually was like it's a fairly cool way of getting rid of that robot. She like lures the robot in there and then cracks the flare and in the most epic line in the whole movie, probably, she goes, "Have a nice day," and it just starts, and it's just the reverb. They just like cranked the reverb up on that because it goes, "Nice day, nice day, nice day, nice day," and when she hucks the flare into the paint and just immediate explosion.
Yeah, it's the biggest fucking explosion.
There's no fire. There's no anything. It just immediately. It destroys the entire storefront. Like,
imagine being those people coming into work the next day, like, "Oh, what happened here?"
Some shit went down. Like, dude, so real. Mm-hmm. And then, so obviously, Allison is the lone survivor, right?
Right.
Wrong.
Yeah.
Ferdy is back, man. So she has.
I did not expect that.
I did not expect it, and honestly, to me, it was unnecessary.
Okay. Yeah.
But
a little
bit.
Yeah.
But sure, bring Ferdy back. Well, because like I get that they were doing like the whole like new couple, but all of a sudden they have like an immediate like bond or whatever.
They're going through this traumatic experience. Yeah. That's such a trope.
What a great relationship building moment, right? Do you remember that time that we had to fight off those killer robots and we survived? We've been stronger ever since.
Oh Jesus!
but so Ferdy, you see him like pop up on the balcony like ha, and he has like a fucking roll of toilet paper that he's like supposedly been holding against his like his head or whatever, because there's he's holding this roll of toilet paper that's like bloody on one side. And then they reunite. There's an epic kiss, and it just pans out from there.
Yeah,
perfect close to the movie.
It is so. The one thing I'll say is this was at a time in horror where the final girl was the biggest thing. Like who was going to be. So I thought it was a little cool that it was a final boy and girl.